It do. Welcome to the J-Boy Sports Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you don't love the content, you can still do those things because you could always help a brother out because you know a brother would always help you out. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our fantastical content. Make sure that you comment because I will reply. I promise you. Ball is life. I will definitely reply. Got to get that comment section popping. And then also the last thing you want to do is hang on towards the end of this video for some other suggested videos that we know you will love. Let's jump into the show. Michael Porter Jr. talks to us today about gambling, okay? Now, I'm a little late on this one, but at the end of the day, I thought it was important, and I never really got a chance to speak on it, but I definitely want to touch on it briefly now. And he has a little, he talked about gambling. His brother, Jonte, I believe was the one, actually was kicked out of the NBA for life because he was caught gambling. And Michael Porter Jr. was explaining the thought process potentially behind that, but some people didn't like it. You know, some people were upset with the fact that he did that. I actually appreciated it. And I know there's actually a lot of people that for some reason don't like Michael Porter Jr. in general. I have some friends that are just like, I wish he would shut up. But I got to tell you, for me, he's one of the gifts that keeps on giving. I think the guy is grounded. I think he has some wisdom to him, even at a young age. He's saying real things, and I appreciate anybody that says real things. He's not really just living like this cookie cutter life. I mean, he is overall, but he seems like somebody that can look outside of himself and break down exactly what's going on and the differences between him and somebody that is normal like me who doesn't have $200 million to do whatever he wants with. So let's check out what he has to say, and we'll go from there.
Oh man, don't get me started.
No,
on
we're
that.
not talking about that.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I mean we could talk about the sports gambling
Because
thing.
That's it. I mean, it is what it is. It's basically like gambling's taking over. They're being legalized state by state more and more. You got
there's a lot of shit coming out on players and shit.
Yeah, I mean,
players
we don't need to go there, but I'm saying as far as like, I'm assuming that like just what he's talking
that's
about.
Not what he was talking about. He's talking about Mikey fucking doing a deal with Puma for social media, making money.
No, but he then went into like a little bit more
The authenticity of the game, and we're talking about that, like the integrity of the game.
Yeah,
and yeah, the sports gambling stuff can affect that a lot.
100%.
Think about it.
There you go.
You get mad at these dudes like
that
do the sports betting, but think about if you could get all your homies rich by telling them, yo,
no shit,
bet $10,000 on my under. You know, this one game I'm gonna act like I got an injury, and I'm gonna sit out. I'm gonna come out after 3 minutes, and they all get a little bag because you did it one game. Like that is so not okay. But some people probably think like that. They come from nothing, and 100%. All their homies have nothing,
100%.
And they're like, bro, if I come out of this game after 3 minutes and y'all all hit on my under, we're all getting a little bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I obviously my brother went through his situation. You know, Malik Beasley's going through a situation right now. Terry Rozier was in some hot water. But the whole sports gambling like entity, bro, it's bad, and it's only gonna get worse, bro. Like we really do get death threats. Like if you and the thing is you can't.
Somebody doesn't hit a parlay.
Crazy part is you can't win anymore because if I do too good, I'm messing up the people that bet on the under. And if they bet on my over, like, you know what I'm saying? So you're messing up some people's money. Who if they bet on your under or over, you're messing up some people's.
And you know what's crazy? You think about this? It's only in probably like 13 states right now.
Well, no, I've never. Have you ever You've obviously gotten DM before, like, oh, you my parlay.
Bro, what? Do you remember the dude? Who was the dude in the football playoffs? That missed the catch in the end zone.
Yeah.
What was his name? He played on the.
Was it this past year?
Yeah, the past year, and he missed the catch. You know what I'm talking about? He was like he had that catch right in the end zone. He's like one of the best.
Andrews. Andrews,
my boy. His social media. Think about how much money. That's real death threats. They were like, bro, don't come back.
Yeah.
So that's Michael Porter Jr. speaking on a podcast, and he's talking about, you know, the gambling, and I actually agree with pretty much everything that he said. You're asking people, the big problem here that people don't want to actually discuss. I'm nobody's judge, jury, and executioner. I'm not God. I'm not Jesus Christ. I'm not telling anybody what to do, all right? You do what you want to do. It's your life. Can't tell you what to do. Me, I'm a Christian. I follow I follow that book, the Bible, to the best of my abilities, and it speaks against gambling. It does speak against it. So I try to stay away from gambling. But even outside of just being a Christian, I see the issues with it. And Michael Porter Jr. hinted at it, right? So gambling is legal dang near everywhere now. And everybody's betting on everything. And what happens with gambling is it messes up things, man. It makes it more about the gambling than about actually playing the game. You know what I mean? So now it's not about winning the game in whatever sport you're talking about. It's not about winning basketball games. Now it's actually about making sure that you hit the overs and the unders. So if you win and you play terrible and I don't get the numbers that I need, oh, you still suck. I still hate you. I no longer, I don't like that. And that translates over to all sorts of problems. He mentioned at the end the tight end Andrews, who dropped the pass, and I believe that was the AFC Championship game. I think he dropped, and Andrews, I think it was that game. Lamar brought them back, helped get them back into the game. Andrews had a chance at a catch that probably should have made, dropped it, and then people started going nuts. They were talking about how, he's shaving points. They were talking about, they were sending him death threats. They hate him. Don't you ever come back to Baltimore. Ironically enough, that was last year. I just seen him catch a pass this weekend. And just a whole bunch of stuff, man. And it was crazy. It was crazy. And they really, really, really just hated him. And it was more than just the drop pass. It was the gambling part of it. And then Michael Porter Jr. was talking about, it's nothing for people that come from nothing. Listen, when you don't have a lot and you're in survival mode, every day of your life is like survival. Anybody that's ever been to the bottom or ever really struggled, ever been in a tight spot, you're looking for any advantage that you can get. And unfortunately, some of them are scammy type joints. And he's right. You sit there, you say, yo, I'm going to fall, just bet the under here, and you'll make some money. And then all your homies are rich now. What wouldn't you do for some of your friends? Now, if you don't have the same background as I do, you don't see the problems with gambling. So many people are gambling, and you maybe don't have a Christian background. Even Christians. A lot of Christians be gambling, which is, that's different to me, but that's what they do. But now you're asking somebody who doesn't have the same moral conscience, who's just been in survival mode, who's just trying to make it, who's trying to help those around them, the people that they love, not to do something a little shady. Are these people bad people? Is Jonte Porter a bad person? I don't think so. I don't think he's a bad person. And we don't know the reason why he did what he did, but only Michael and his family know that. But you see how it becomes these gray areas, and it's all because you're allowing so much gambling. Gambling used to be like a no-no in the mainstream. Now everybody is talking about gambling. People are sponsored by gambling companies. So much big business, so much money. And it's a shame, man. Because again, I can sit up here and put my moral code on you, but it's not just about my moral code. I see the issues with this. You're people that are, like he said, are already coming from a difficult life. You're putting them in a situation, telling them to follow these rules, these codes, when everybody else is doing it and everybody else is getting away with it, but just you can't do it. And that's wild, man. And I would illustrate it like I used to be a teacher. And with teaching, there's certain things teachers shouldn't do, right? If you're a teacher and you're frequenting clubs with ladies of the night, I don't know if YouTube messes with the algorithm on that, so I'm not going to say the word. You know what I mean? STRIP, right? Clubs. If you're doing that and you're a teacher and they find out about it and people have video of you, then they're probably going to want to kick you out of the school district or the school. And I understand why, because sex and kids should not be anywhere near each other, right? There, and any type of sex work or sexual activities where it shows, honestly, it just shows a lack of control a little bit. For those of you that like strip clubs, again, you do what you want to do. But if you're a teacher and you're teaching kids, but they got video of you having women dance on you, probably not a good look, and they may be looking to get rid of you. And that's the same thing. But everybody else, literally, politicians get caught doing stuff like that and don't resign. and just say, hey, everybody else does it. But a teacher can't do it. And they're not, I mean, they're leading kids, but they're not leading the town, the city. You know, they may be leaders within that, but they're not at the top of it. And that's kind of what the gambling is. Everybody else is doing it, but you just can't do it. And that again, when people don't have the same moral codes and stuff like that, that's a tricky, slippery slope. So I understand what Michael Porter Jr. was saying. Some people didn't like it. Some people thought, you know, why are you talking on this? You're messing it up for people with gambling and stuff. Listen, man, bump all that. He's being real. He's keeping it honest, and I respect that. And that's all I ask from anybody. Don't gaslight me. Don't lie to me. Tell me the truth. And that's one thing that, whether you like Michael Porter Jr. or not, and I really believe hopefully his season will take off. I've always been a fan of his. Hopefully his season will take off. You'll see him take on another level as a basketball player first. And then a lot of the stuff that he's saying, the wisdom, the jewels that he's dropping will make more sense, and more people will be inclined to listen. Right now, I think some people are joking on him because they think he's like, what is he? He's like Joker's third backup. He's nothing serious. Nobody really cares. But, you know, the better he becomes on the court, the more people will listen to him off of it as well. So we'll see what happens. And, yeah, we'll keep an eye on Michael Porter Jr. on the court, but also just listening to some of the things he's saying off it, because I think he has some good ideas. Tracy McGrady. So Tracy McGrady recently has done his rounds, but he was on Gil's Arena, and he had some interesting things to say. One of the things that he mentioned is that he doesn't think, and again, he said what he said about Kobe Bryant before. We done videos about that on this channel. I don't think he meant it the way it came out, and he came back and elaborated on it, but he recently went on there, basically kind of explained exactly what he was thinking throughout that process, and now he's giving a different look at it, or a different take. And what he said, I'll read it to you. He basically said that you don't have to be a Kobe level player to win a championship with a dominant player like Shaq. All right. And before people, and again, I'm a huge Kobe Bryant guy, but I don't get butthurt easily, right? I try to break things down. So let's take a look at exactly what he said here. He said, I'm not saying I'm Kobe. I don't have to be Kobe to play with Shaq and win a championship. Again, I like how he said that. I'm not saying I'm Kobe. So he's honestly trying to be a good guy here and make sure that he's not delving back into that realm of where people got upset. But he said, D Wade proved that, didn't he? And we're talking about a very small time in my career when I was considered top 5 player in the NBA. That's all we talking about. And looking at what based off of what Shaq was and who he was at that moment in time, throw me in there. All right. So essentially what he's saying here is that we saw Dwayne Wade win with Shaq, and he's not Kobe. And I was a top 5 player in the world at that time. Throw me in there. Right? And I'm not Kobe. But Shaq is so dominant. You know, Shaq is so dominant. Look at how dominant Shaq is. So I hear what he's saying. I get the breakdown. He's basically trying to say that it's not a knock on Kobe. It's just how good Shaq is. We saw Dwayne Wade do it. The only issue with that is you have to remember, I mean, how good was Dwayne Wade at one point? And as good as Wade was, I think he was a better overall player than Tracy McGrady, but he was not a better, I wouldn't say he was a more complete scorer than Tracy McGrady, right? And this is where you really have to understand basketball to truly break that down. Tracy McGrady is one of the best scorers I've ever seen. He's probably a top 5, easily top 10 scorer of all time. Like he was Kobe without maybe the same intensity, the same killer mindset, but he was every bit almost as skilled. Kobe was the better post player too, and that's really what put Kobe over the top. But Mac was up there. I mean, as far as being close to Kobe, I'd say Mike, Kobe, and T-Mac are the only 3 that play the way they play. They're not really anybody else that plays like that. per se, that same style. Now, Dwayne Wade is a great player, was a great player, but he was a better defender than Tracy McGrady. He played a better team game, I would think, because he used more pick and roll. So he put you in more situations where you had, and I hate pick and roll, honestly. People over abuse it in today's league. But the way that Wade used it in his prime, he was so fast. You know what I mean? But Wade was a good rebounder. He was a great passer. He was strong, and he was tough at the basket, and he was physical. I mean, he was really an elite player. His career just, injuries hit him, but then also he sold his soul to LeBron James, and that basically ended his career, in my opinion. You were supposed to be one of the best players of all time. You still are, but you would have been better if you never had LeBron kind of holding you down, in my opinion. And so for T-Mac to say, oh, well, look what Wade did, you weren't exactly him, T-Mac. Wade showed a level of leadership, even for his first year. I remember he had a game winner over Baron Davis, I believe in the playoffs. And I remember watching, I was like, who? And Baron Davis is my guy. B. Diddy is my guy. And one of my favorite point guards. So I was sitting there like, who is this guy that just hit this game, who hit him with a nasty crossover and just jumped over him? First of all, Baron Davis is one of the most gifted athletes I've ever seen. Like, easily. And then Wade just jumped over him like he don't jump mad high. And I was like, who is this guy? And that was before Wade was like really known. And he was a monster. And then when they won the championship, he scored like 37 points a game in the finals, man. Like he went nuts. And it's not because he was the better scorer than Tracy McGrady. He just took his intensity to another level, and they could not guard him off the pick and roll. And he was getting steals. He was doing everything. Everything. Now, that team, granted, was probably better than any team T-Mac's ever played on when he was healthy. Except that Rockets team, right? Which is the same thing he's wearing in this picture here. But I think I understand what T-Mac is saying, but I think you're discrediting Dwayne Wade a little bit, because I still have not seen anybody in my lifetime that I've been watching, because I didn't watch Michael Jordan early. I caught a little bit of 98, but he wasn't doing this. Wade was averaging 37 a game, and maybe Mike was averaging that, but the way Wade did it was crazy. It was looking easy. He was killing the Mavericks. So I don't know, T-Mac. T-Mac never won a game in the playoffs, a series, excuse me. He never got out of round one, really. So you can't really put yourself on the same level, like, as what Dwayne Wade was doing. You know, even without Shaq, I think he won at least one or two. What Dwayne Wade was capable of, he took his game to another level. And there's a clip that I have to go over at some point where Roy Hibbert was talking about when the Pacers played the Heat, when they had Wade, Bosh, LeBron. He said the player that really messed us up the most, that freaked us up, was Wade. Because how he was getting his points and getting extra possessions and extra rebounds. Wade is just an overall great basketball player in his prime. He did a little bit of everything. And his scoring was not like, I'm going to kill you with a million jump shots. He just had a different type of game. I don't know how to explain it. He was like, when he wanted to be, he was an Allen Iverson with a Baron Davis athletic ability. You know what I mean? It was crazy. I would say he's like the combination of Baron Davis and Allen Iverson. That's what he was in his prime. So I say all that to say, as far as what T-Mac is saying, I understand his point. I think there's a possibility he could have won one with Shaq. But again, what him and Shaq had, what Kobe and Shaq had going on, and I did a video on this with Samaki Walker on my channel. What Kobe was, his mindset and how he motivated Shaq was different. And I don't think everybody could do that. So Wade managed to do it one time, but couldn't do it after that. You know, couldn't really do it after that for various other reasons. But I think I understand what T-Mac is saying. I don't know if he would have been able to reach that Dwayne Wade level. Not saying, again, that he wasn't a really good player, but Wade was something else in that series, man. Something else in that series, and has always been something else. He's been a more overall player, I think, than Tracy McGrady. And maybe he's had the luxury to be so. So, I don't know. That's a tough one. Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson is looking completely different out here. He lost some weight, but actually I believe he lost some weight last year too. This is not the first time that we've seen Zion Williamson lose some weight. I feel like this picture in particular is AI. I don't think he's this small. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like he's dumb small right now. I don't know. I don't know how he got this small. This looks kind of crazy, but he is smaller, and it looks like he's taking his diet more seriously. He's been talking a little bit differently, and it's, you know, I want to be a Zion fan. I want to really appreciate everything Zion Williamson. I think he's a nice guy. He likes anime. I love that. And I think that he's got crazy, tremendous talent, but he can't stay on the court because he can't stay healthy, and they say it's because he can't keep his weight regulated. I'm not somebody that's going to overly bash him for that. And it just seems like things have not worked out in his favor. But I also don't think he's been tough enough. I don't think he's been dedicated to the game the way that potentially he could be, you know? But recently he came out. We're preparing for the NBA season coming up. He said, it feels good to feel good. I haven't felt like this since college. You know, that's what he's saying here. And so you like to hear that. I think he's a monster when healthy. The Pelicans have been boo-boo water. A friend of mine recently, when talking about the New York Jets, was like, I'm tired of being glad bags. That's hilarious. Because when it comes to the Jets, you get tired of saying trash, but saying glad bags is hilarious. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, hopefully Zion's tired of that. There's no reason for him to be that good and that team to be so bad, other than he's not dedicating himself to the game. But recently he came out and he said some stuff that sounds good. Let's listen to a soundbite of what he said.
Talent is more of a natural thing. Like, you can look at somebody and go, okay, they're really talented. Greatness is every day. Greatness is when you don't want to do it, when you want to do it. If you're facing crazy adversity, good, bad, no matter what's going on, greatness, you do it every day. You show up every day and you make it happen every day.
So that's Zion Williamson talking about what greatness is, how talent is more of a natural thing and greatness is every day. So he's right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with what he said, but the hope is that, will you actually, you know, are you just going to talk about it? Or are you going to actually be about it? And that's always the difference, right? Your words, your actions speak louder than your words. That's a saying that everybody knows. And with Zion Williamson, that's really what it comes down to. I'd love to do so many videos about Zion Williamson, but at the end of the day, he, a lot of times, is straight up wasting everybody's time, man. And hopefully this year is the year he puts it all together. His talent is off the charts. I think I did a video last year where, you know, he's like one of the fastest people to 520 something with baskets, field goals made, something. He's like the third fastest, and he's right behind Luka Doncic and LeBron, and he's played way less games than they did in the beginning of their careers. So what he's capable of, low key, is insane. But does that mean winning? And if, funny enough, for Zion, it's not even just about winning. Normally that's where I would start. That's the baseline. Or not the baseline, but that's where you truly see somebody's ascension. For him this year, if he can play 70-something games at least, if he could play 70-something games and finish out the season and lead his team and be there every day as much as possible, then to me, that's a start for him. And if the wins come with that, that's excellent. But first, get on the court, stay on the court, be a leader, bruh, man. Right? And go from there. Be the Hokage. He's a Naruto fan, anime guy. If you're not into anime, you probably think I'm crazy, but you can Google it. Naruto. Be Hokage. Hokage is the leader of the village. The big chief. The one that's hard to knock down. Usually, if not the strongest, one of the strongest in the village. Definitely at the top somewhere. And hopefully Zion can achieve that. Cut out all the nonsense, the garbage, the bull crap. Just get out there, play every game, be a leader, and let it do what it do, baby. Let it do what it do. Dennis Schroeder, if you're not familiar, Dennis Schroeder went out there and just was the EuroLeague MVP and took Germany to another championship. And honestly, I don't know how this guy keeps doing it, but when I see him play on the world stage, he's unstoppable. And Germany always wins. I know he's got the Wagner boys. That's how Shaq says it. Wagner. Franz Wagner and his brother, I think, play on that team. Let's check it out. Who plays on the German Olympic team? Dennis Schroeder, Daniel Theus. Daniel Theus has been playing for a minute. Franz Wagner, Alexandra Pop. Have no idea who that is. Meryl Froms. Oh, that's for the women's team. We're not talking about that. Moritz Wagner. Yeah, that's his brother. The Wagner boys. Yeah, and they play on the Olympic team for Germany. And Germany just won. They just won their EuroLeague. And it's crazy, man, because Dennis Schroeder keeps winning. He always does well. Now, you got players like Giannis, you got Joker, Alfred Şengün, Luka Doncic is out there. Who plays for France? I don't know if Wemby played this year. I don't think he did. But, you know, whoever's French is out there too. You know, they got a lot of players in the NBA now, I think. I don't know all of them. I'll learn them. Mainly I know Wemby, but I don't think he played, like I said. What's the dude's name that dunked on LeBron in the Olympics? He was on the Sixers last year. I don't know what team he's on this year. I got to look at the rosters and catch up. But, you know, he plays on that French team as well. They got ballers on all of these teams, at least a few, for most of them. And Dennis Schroeder comes out on top every single time. This is a man that was traded like 8 times last year. But somehow, some way, he comes out on top in the Olympics and always leads his team to a tough bid. And this time he led him to a championship. So how does that keep happening? Like, what is the translation? Why is Dennis Schroeder able to do this overseas and not in the NBA? And I got to say, I just think it's opportunity. I think it's opportunity because it doesn't make sense otherwise. But let's hear what Richard Jefferson and Shannon Fry and Kendrick Perkins and them had to say about this.
He's going against Jokic's and Giannis's, and let's be honest, the best players in the world are playing for their countries over in EuroLeague. The best players in the world are not always here in the United States.
To be the greatest of your country, but like for Dennis to do that, and now he's in that conversation, you got to be special. And you look at every year, you look at how Germany has gotten better and better, and he's been ahead of that snake. And again, I'm not comparing, but to me, he reminds me of the situation of like Kyle Lowry. He's the best player ever to play for the Raptors, most consistently winning. You have to reward that. You have to really take that into consideration, knowing that he's playing with Franz and Mo Wagner, Daniel Tyson, those other guys, and still winning.
We need to start giving credit to what these leagues are. He's going against Jokic's and Giannis's and Markkanen's. He's going against Doncic's. Like, let's be honest. The best players in the world are playing for their countries over in EuroLeague. The best players in the world are not always here in the United States. So the competition that they're navigating is Hall of Fame competition. That's what you're working with. Who grew up in this country? Who's of German descent? You get to go play games, and they've come out on top 2 times. Those are Hall of Fame resumes.
Does international success matter more than the NBA?
No, but it is growing in importance. No, it does not, but it is growing in importance. This is such a unique case, but we see that international basketball is growing in levels. NBA is spreading. They're going to try and start a EuroLeague of some sort. The international players keep winning MVPs. We don't know who's next in our generation. There's so many layers to this that shows how important that is, even for a development standpoint. The 22 through 26-year-old players from Europe that play in the NBA, they are playing hyper-competitive, intense, coached system basketball right now. That's an advantage that they have for their development. So when the season starts, who has a better chance to be a part of, lock in, and be in those systems? I would say the European players do. That's where the system keeps building. That's why we're seeing less dominance. It's a system there.
So that's Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye. Kendrick Perkins didn't talk, but he's in the video if you watch the video. I forgot what that little podcast is that they do, but they were just talking about it there. And they both made some really good points. Channing Frye, and it's funny, these guys are gaslighters, specifically when it comes to, the king, the GOAT king, supposedly, right? When it comes to him, they gaslight the heck out of everybody. Like, that's what they do. They just start talking out of their absolute butt cheeks, and it drives me nuts. But at the end of the day, I actually do like these guys. I do. I think they're probably good people behind the scenes overall, but I think they do a little bit of gaslighting. And one of the things that they get right, though, is Dennis Schroeder should, he deserves some credit for this. This is not just this just kind of happened out of nowhere. It is what it is. No, he worked his butt off and helped build that German team to what they are today. And nobody gave him the keys to that. He had to work for it. He had to prove it. He had to go out there and ball. And from what I've heard about Dennis Schroeder, he has a very much, I'm the best mentality. He's going to work as hard as he can to, be the best that he can possibly be. He's not one of those people that puts a ceiling on himself. He doesn't think everybody is a better player than him. He's just waiting for his opportunity. And I actually really respect that about Dennis Schroeder. And you can see it. He's got a winning mentality. You don't win such a big thing like EuroLeague if you don't. Especially against NBA players, in some cases, that are supposed to be way better than you. He beat all of them. So you got to give him his props for that. But Richard Jefferson also pointed out something that I thought was interesting, in that these Euro players have a system. They're learning how to play ball the right way. They're getting better. They're becoming more skilled. And I agree with that. I think that's definitely something that's happening. And the American players are starting to struggle more and more. And the only true American players that we have that are really like that are, Zion, we talked about him in some videos, and he's got to put his head on straight and really buckle it in and dial down. Got the talent, but we'll see. You got players like Trae Young, who are good, but, we'll see with Trae Young. I don't know where he's going. We'll see. You have Jalen Brunson, who I really like on the Knicks. He's a really good player. You still have the Stephs, the KDs, the LeBrons. LeBron is on his way out in all likelihood at some point. KD is, we'll see. KD doesn't win anything ever. I know people love him, but for me, he's not my guy, right? I don't really, he doesn't do anything for me personally, but is he a great player? Yeah, you can't take that from him. So I guess you have that. And Steph's still cooking with Greece. But the problem with Steph is he got hurt. And so we'll see how he is this upcoming year. And actually, we're going to talk about that at some point in another video, or later on actually in this, is that he was actually voted the best American player as of right now. And he's like 36, 37. So that's impressive, for him to still have that. You have the Jason Tatums, you have the Jaylen Browns, you got a few other American people to sprinkle in there. But the best players seem to be from Europe right now. And your boy Schroeder beat all of them. But that tells you about something that they're doing with their development programs. But I also think it's the mindset. You look at somebody like Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's not built like these guys. Victor Wembanyama has not reached anywhere near his apex. But I got to tell you, when the guy talks, I love it. And I haven't done enough videos on Victor, and I will make sure I do that this season. But everything he says is like, he's straight and narrow. He's not talking about drinking, girls, smoking, none of that, drugs. The man is focused on basketball, his family. He did some training as a monk. Monks are not into worldly possessions and things of that nature that cripple the average man. So, but again, Wemby's also, he's from another country. And I think what we talk about is we talk about the basketball aspect of it, but I do believe the mindset of these players is also something that is important to think about. The guys that are not from here, a lot of them don't even want to be famous. You hear Joker, you hear Giannis, you hear Wemby. They don't care about the fame. Is that every European player? Probably not, but they don't care about the fame. I dare you to go reference the video I did on Ricky Rubio, in which he was talking about how watching some of these NBA players from here, you know, it was hard for him because these people are not his people, and he didn't mean it in a way of like he's racist or culturally he's biased against them, but he is culturally shocked at how some of us behave, what's important to some of us. They got a different mindset. You know what I mean? And I think that truly contributes to the foreign players' greatness. And my favorite players right now, my two favorite are SGA and Giannis. Again, not from America. Now, Canada is very close to America, you know, and they're very similar to us in some ways, but definitely Giannis he's got a different thing. He said he wants to disappear and be like Tim Duncan, so nobody knows him. He just dedicated to basketball and his family, and he came out and did a speech, you know, for his team came in third in the Euro League, and he said it was like one of his biggest accomplishments. He was crying and everything, but again, he said the same thing, right? He said the same thing. So that's something to think about. Shout out to Dennis Schroeder, EuroLeague champion and MVP. That boy nice. And even if he never does anything in the NBA, you can't take that away from him. It's one of the most prestigious leagues. Germany is one of the best teams in the world, if not the best. Well, they're not the best, but they might be second behind USA. So, good stuff. LeBron James, he's been a little more quiet as of recently, which is, in my opinion, good for basketball, because not even to throw shade at him, but what I think is happening with the sport, and what has happened, is that it's been too much LeBron, and in order for the game to continue to grow, it needs to take a step back from him. But also, you know, he's talking about creating a new league and everything like that, him and Mav Carter. So the league is going to have to really make sure that they be very careful of him, in my opinion, and how they're promoting him moving forward, because he could be, you know, he's out to take you guys over. So even though he's a part of your league, he's also part of the competition. And, you know, this doesn't surprise me. It's kind of like LeBron just being who he is. In my opinion, he's kind of a snake. So that's just continuing that. But I bring that up to say that most recently, he did this interview with Complex, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I just caught some snippets. And I'm just going to be honest, and I can honestly say that maybe I am biased as far as this, but obviously I'm not a big LeBron James fan at all, and I don't listen to a lot of the stuff he says and think that, oh wow, this is great information. I just don't get that from him. You know, I think he's one of those people that maybe has a lot of great things to say, but he doesn't give it to you. You know, he just gives people a lot of surface level stuff, a lot of things that maybe will tickle your ears, but there's no substance. And that's just my opinion on the way he does his interviews. I don't really get the sense that he's real or honest often, if at all. But in this particular interview, he was talking about Kobe Bryant, playing against Kobe Bryant, and being confused as to what the ISO, that little ISO play is where Kobe put his hands up. And you'll see it in the montage that I do. You'll see the montage that, and you may be looking at it right now. I don't know. I don't know how my editor is doing that. But while I'm talking at this point, but I was really confused because I was like, well, isn't he supposed to be the smartest player ever? Like, why did it take him so long to figure that out? But let's listen to what he had to say, and then you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong.
You said something like Kobe tricked you for like 5 years straight, like with.
Oh yeah, with the whole yeah. I thought that was like, you know, because I one thing about me, people know when they play me, like I know all the plays, I read the scouting reports, I do a deep dive in it. So like for forever, I thought it was just like a call that he was calling that Phil Jackson was like, you know, feel like Kobe, you know how I used to do with Mike, triangle offense. Man, I realized it was give me the ball and everybody get the way. I'm about to bust Bron's ass.
To realize that.
I don't know. See, I get my game and my IQ get my way sometimes, and I'm trying to steal signals and stuff from Kobe and the bench over there. It's like, nah, this is a one-on-one moment.
Literally a not play call at all. It's
All.
just get out my
That means
anywhere.
move, get out the hell out the way, and I'm about to go at it.
So that was LeBron James talking about, you know, when Kobe would do this sign, that was kind of like an ISO play. And the only question I have I have a couple of questions, but LeBron James, again, is supposed to be like this all-knowing deity on the basketball court as far as his like IQ, and he even mentions it. He talks about I'm known for like reading signals and everything like that. But I'm like, brother, explain to me and the world, if you know all these things, how could you not tell that he was doing ISO? Years later, we can look at the video. You see this picture that I have right here in front of you guys. You see this picture. He literally is calling for ISO. Like, that's obvious. I knew that when I was watching it. He said 5 years? Brother, I knew that when I was watching it when I was, how old was I in 2003? I was still in high school, man. I was still in high school. I was watching it. I knew what he was doing. It's Kobe Bryant. You know what he's doing when he does that. Like, I don't know, man. I find this hard to believe, and I believe LeBron James is doing a little bit of a lie here to make this story more fantastical. And again, you might say I'm nitpicking on him, but it's just why? Why do you have to lie like this, man? This is a lie. Come on, Bron. Cut it out, man. This has to be a lie. You knew he was calling for ISO. For whatever reason, you felt like it would be better to tell this story that way. And I do think you maybe were trying to be nice and give Kobe some level of credit there, which is, and be humble. You were as humble as you can be. I know that's not easy for LeBron James, but, you know, so I give him credit that it seemed like he was trying to do a humble, nice thing by give Kobe a little bit of credit here. But a part of me is just like, LeBron, why do you have to lie? And that's what I was saying, like, everything with him never feels like genuine and authentic. It either feels like he's lying, or he's trying to put on a show, or he feels some type of way because he's not getting his credit. You know, LeBron, it'd be nice to see one day if he can ever just relax and just be who he is. Because I think what we see is not who he really is. You know, as a person, I don't hate him. As a basketball player, he gets on my nerves. And as a brand, he gets on my nerves. But as a person, he seems like a pretty good father. I didn't like what he did with Bronny James. I don't like that at all. I never liked that move. I feel like I would not have done that, me personally. But I don't think any one thing makes you a horrible father. All right, and so I wouldn't say that, but I just think that he's like been living a lie for so long. I don't think he's really this. I don't think whatever this is not really him. So I just thought that was interesting. And I was listening to it and I was like, brother, you know everything. And you couldn't figure out that weak symbol that we all figured out when I was 18. Like how old was I? In 2003, I was like 16, man. I knew that at 16. Come on, brother. Come on. So we'll leave that there. This is kind of a harmless LeBron James joint where it seems like he tried to be a good person, but he's LeBron James. So not saying he's a bad person, but he at times I do think LeBron does some shady bad person stuff, though. I will say that. I can't say he's a straight up bad person, but he does some very habitual line stepping, right on the line, cusp type things. But in this one, I think it's harmless, but I just... Why all this extra fantastical mustard did you have to throw on this hot dog? Unnecessary. Russell Westbrook. So Russell Westbrook is still without a team, and that's unfortunate. But you know, one thing I've always said, I love Russ. He's one of my favorite players of all time. I loved watching him play. I feel like once he went to the Lakers, it just really ruined his career. I thought leaving the Thunder was a bad idea in general. And I've done videos on this. They never love you like they love you where you start. They just don't. Unless you leave one time fairly early, you know, and most of the time that's, you know, still not the best. If you're a great player, you can stay where you are. I suggest you do. Because the more you move, it drops the quality of who you are, in my opinion. And it starts messing with your legacy. And with Russ, unfortunately, his legacy, he doesn't have a team right now. So you start jumping all around the league. If he was still in the Thunder, and the way he's still able to play, he would have been, SGA is the king over there now, but if he was still in the Thunder, you would still hear a lot more about him. At worst, if this was like the season he was going to retire, there would be people there saying, listen, this is how we're gonna end things for Russ. We're gonna put him. We're gonna make sure that things end for him in a nice way, or start, putting things in that direction. But that's not what's happening for Russ. However, one thing that came out that I do like is he recently said some stuff about Kevin Durant, and that whole thing where Durant left and ran to Golden State. I've never heard him say anything really about it publicly until now. And I guess this is some type of documentary. So far, we just have a small snippet of it. But I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Team will never win a championship with Russell Westbrook as the primary decision maker.
The news again coming in moments ago, Kevin Durant heading to the Golden State Warriors.
He didn't feel he could win a championship with Russell Westbrook.
I can't play an entire career with a guy who thinks he's better than me when he's clearly not.
I start laughing instantly. I'm like, this can't be true. It's like, nah, no way he would go to that team. They just beat us.
Did the fact that not only Kevin left, but it was to Golden State, did that make it sting even more?
Sting for who?
That's Russell Westbrook and a cast of other people speaking. You hear Skip Bayless and a few other people, basically his biggest haters, the people that have been the most disruptive and disrespectful to Russ over the years. And I never liked that about Skip Bayless. I thought he was going way off kilter with the Westbrook. At times it fits because Russ do be missing his shots at times. And I would love to know what happened to his jump shot. When he first came in the league and worked on it a little bit, when they were in the finals, when he with him and Durant, his joint was money. He would run as fast as he can to the free throw line, knock that jumper down. He was an excellent free throw shooter. Somehow things just changed, and I really don't know why or what changed it, but they did. And I gotta say, I'd love to know why that changed for Russ. What started messing up his jumper? Some people say he broke his hand a few times and that messed it up because he dunked so hard or whatever. I don't know, but I'd love to hear it from him one day. But you hear some people talking negatively on Russ. Obviously, you hear Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd, who I think is such a baloney, phony type dude. I don't really like Colin Cowherd. I like Skip more than I like Colin, to be honest with you. I think Colin Cowherd just does everything he does for money. I don't think he really loves sports. I think he just says a lot of nonsense, and he's a clout chaser. He's a very successful clout chaser, but he's still a clout chaser. And he said, "Oh, you can't be better than me." Listen, when Durant left, Russ was the MVP. He had 4 straight years of triple doubles. He took the Wizards to the playoffs for the first time in a while after they had, John Wall had left and everything like that. So I don't want to hear that he was not an elite player. He was. And unfortunately, people have ruined what that looks like for him and tried to treat him badly. But at the end of the day, Russ is like that. You know what I mean? He's like that when he's locked in. And things have just been different recently, but I still think he could be a really good player, given the right circumstances. I thought he played well for Denver at times last year. And then he got hurt, and I think that kind of messed him up as the playoffs, went forward. But you hear him say, for the first time I've ever heard, like, they said, where's he going? Like, not to that team. They just beat us. And that just goes to show you that not just Russ is one person, but everybody felt the same way. So don't let these people gaslight you into thinking that Kevin Durant going to the Warriors was like this, was normal. It wasn't normal, But more so, people look at that and they say, oh, they talked bad about that, as they should. But what bothers me is that people will then turn around and say LeBron going to Miami was good. Neither one of them was good. What Durant did was worse because he just basically took what Bron did to the next level. Bosh too. Can't take it away from Bosh. Although Bosh, a little different, but still bad. Still bad. But, the only reason why I somehow still get a kick out of that is because at the end of the day, what Durant did actually kept LeBron from winning more championships, which I thought was deserved, because LeBron on Miami took a championship away from Russ, Harden, and Durant. Who knows what would have happened if LeBron would have never went to Miami and Bosh, and that Thunder team would have won that championship in that year. If they would have won that championship, maybe we don't have all this all over the place nonsense where people are running left and right. We definitely wouldn't have had Durant leaving, in my opinion, if LeBron never did. But if they would have won that championship, who knows what that Thunder team could have been? You know what I mean? Who knows? Now Harden wet the bed, and Durant and Russ balled out, but who knows what could have happened? But to me, Durant was just like, you know what? I'm going to take my rings back from LeBron. And I get it. And I actually kind of like it because it kept LeBron in his place and didn't let him run away with the league. Now, I thought Golden State could have beat the Cavs anyway, but let's not forget, the Cavs was a super team that he put together to beat teams like the Warriors. And then Durant said, I'll do you one better. I'm going to supersede that. And he did. So, but it was still a weak move. And that's really what you get from this clip with Russell Westbrook. He's just one player, but I guarantee you a lot of players, if you really put them up to the mic and put their feet to the fire and made them answer the question, they would tell you, yeah, I thought it was weak. Not just Charles Barkley is the only person that feels that way. Charles is just one of the only people that's willing to say it out loud. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to, if there's more to this, if it's a documentary of some sort, I really can't wait to listen. Because I'd love to hear more on how Russ felt about that entire situation. We only got a soundbite, but to me, that soundbite says everything. It says everything. So, you decide what you think about that soundbite. I don't know what to tell you. What do you think? What do you think? So the next thing that we're going to discuss here is Stephen Curry, right? So Steph Curry really stays out of the media for the most part. You don't hear too much about him outside of the basketball season. He may be doing one or two things here or there, but he's a guy that enjoys his life. Unlike some other people, he doesn't seem to be a supreme narcissist. So he likes to be out of the spotlight at times as well, which, I actually appreciate. And one of the things that we're finding out, though, is how good of a person Steph Curry actually is. So a lot of people don't talk about other people, especially as great as Steph, and mention, who they are as people. But I thought it was something interesting to talk about in a positive light that you don't hear a lot about other people. So we have Tyrese Halliburton, and we also have Jonathan Kuminga. And Kuminga, this is coming out of left field for him because he's going through a contract dispute with Golden State. I feel like he should leave. If it was me, I'd just be out of there because Steve Kerr even admitted it in a couple of his interviews, and I think we did a video on it. He is not good at developing people outside of Steph, Clay, and Draymond. That's it. He doesn't know how to get use out of anybody else, and he admitted it. So I think if you're Kuminga, and actually he can develop them, but he messes it up every time. Either he doesn't develop them correctly, or he will help you get better and then never makes you a better player than what you are, and ultimately you get Falcon punched in the face by, LeBron's number one goblin, Draymond Green, and then, you get shipped off and the goblin gets to stay. Just weird stuff, Jordan Poole. But let's listen to what they had to say about Steph Curry and, what makes him stand out.
Experience with him, because you had not really, you never played with him obviously, but you hadn't got to hang with him before USA.
Yeah.
And now he's the head of the Steph Curry fan club. So you can speak to it a little bit.
How
old is he now?
All I know is I call him Unc. I don't know how old he is, but I definitely call him Unc. Probably like 36, 35, 37.
How many years been in the league?
Huh?
Plus 15 plus.
Over
15 plus. 15
yes.
plus.
15 plus.
15 plus.
Steph is the greatest human being I've met in basketball. I've never met a better person.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Steph as a human being. He is so unbelievable the way that he can, he remembers people, he cares about people. I can't say enough good things about Steph. And then through the Olympic experience, I think for me, I didn't play a ton, obviously, so it was a lot of it was like for me to like learn and like pick guys' brains, and Steph was just that guy for me to always be like, I always, after every practice, I'm like, I gotta work out with Steph. Like I gotta do what he's doing and like kind of, take things from him. And he was always like, he would like, before he would start, if I was on the other end of the gym, like, come on, Ty, like we're gonna work out. So for me, like I can't say enough good things about him. When we play, every time I play Golden State, if it's there, if it's here, we're gonna get dinner, we're gonna hang out, spend some time together. It's just, that was a great experience for me, and not just him, but everybody on that team to be able to have like real relationships with. Because sometimes, and I'm sure you can relate to this, when you're around people that you looked up to, you're like, this is the
also
cool, like,
beautiful family too.
Yeah,
Come
for
on
sure,
now. Yeah.
for sure. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, man, this is the greatest experience for me. And for me, growing up in Wisconsin, he was at Davidson, killing Wisconsin in the tournament, and now full circle for us to have like this great relationship. It's
And you
very
know
special.
what?
So that's Tyrese Halliburton. Now I also want to listen to what Jonathan Kuminga had to say about Steph Curry.
Steph Curry is like this one human being who's perfect. Like he literally like perfect. He don't have any. It's nothing you can say about Steph.
That's crazy though.
Like he comes to the gym. He's the parents first. He comes to the gym the same way he act at home, same way he act on the floor, same way he act at practice. He don't get into any problem. He speak to everybody. Like he's gonna start a conversation even if you don't want to. He's gonna come find you and talk to you. So that's a lot of things that people don't see behind the scene, because all I see is him hitting threes and stuff like that. But he's the best human being I ever really been around.
So this is extremely high praise from two individuals who are very talented in the game of basketball. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, was magical this season, and unfortunately tore his Achilles in the final game of the most important game of his career thus far. And hopefully he'll have another opportunity at it at some point. Still rooting for the Thunder, so I hope it's not next year or this year. But down the road, hopefully he'll have another chance. But I grew to really truly respect Tyrese Halliburton. He's still a little bit too friendly with Steph in this one for me. He's saying a lot of good things about him, which is nice, but I think you got to be a little bit careful. You want to hold some level of a competitive edge when he's like, oh yeah, if he comes, we're going to dinner, or blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, but make sure you want to kill him. Also, not really kill him, but on the court. And I think Tyrese actually can be on that line, because when he's on the court, I mean, his competitiveness is something to watch. And we're going to do a lot more videos about this guy this upcoming season, but I mean, what a competitor. And even Giannis said, I love the way he competes. He does. So I think he's safe, but just be careful. Don't get too buddy-buddy. He's the enemy. Just because y'all light-skinned doesn't mean you have to form some weird brotherhood, all right? All light skins are not the same, all right? So relax. But he had high praise, and then Jonathan Kuminga said he's the best person he's ever met, which is interesting. Kuminga doesn't really talk a lot at all. He is a teammate of Steph, so it makes sense. He would have been around him a lot, but he said he's like the best person he's ever met. And I just thought this was a nice positive thing to add to the archive of Steph. People have been bashing Steph lately for some stuff his wife Aisha said. And, I don't really want to speak on that too much, because that's that man's wife, and you got to be careful with that. I saw a YouTuber that went kind of hard at him, and I'm not going to say that everything the YouTuber said I thought was completely out of pocket, but that's still another man's wife, and that's for that man to deal with and not necessarily us. Unless it's Jada Pinkett Smith or Gabrielle Union, who I think, honestly, talk about two black men that things changed and started acting totally different and lost a lot because of the women they decided to marry. Those two, Wade and Will Smith, my goodness, man. My goodness. I guess I can say this because I'm never going to meet Will Smith. I don't think I'll ever be that famous. And I still like Will Smith. I do. And I wish him the best. I think he's a good person. And I just think he's a lost person. But if, in my opinion, his wife has thrown him through the ringer. Through the absolute ringer. And, Will might be mad at me and hate me forever because I said that, but it's no disrespect, Will. I just think she's done some things to you that are messed up. So if I'm wrong for that, I guess I'm wrong. For being Team Will, I guess I'm wrong. And same thing with Wade. I feel like some of your stuff started when you went Hollywood with that wife, and you changed too, brother. And I think you're trying to figure out who you are to this day. Sometimes you remember who you were, and then sometimes you want to be this new person. And it is what it is, Wade. Still have a lot of love for you too, brother. I don't think basketball is what it is without you. And I think that you've given back to the game. I think you took away from the game in that super team too, but it is what it is. I'm trying to be polite, but also take a stance here. And as far as Ayesha is concerned, she's not done anything so egregious, other than I just think that she should keep some things in-house, and not every feeling and emotion that we have is meant for everybody. There's some things that I share with my wife because I'm married as well, and there's no reason for me to tell anybody else that. There's some things I share with some of my friends that there may be one or two stories that my friends know about me that my wife doesn't know. And I don't know, I'm not saying I'll never tell her, but unless it comes up, does everything have to be known to everybody all the time? I don't know. And if everything doesn't have to be known to the closest people to you all the time, then it dang sure doesn't have to be known to the world. So I think Ayesha's biggest crime is keep stuff in house, babes. Just keep it in house. Not my baby, by the way, so I don't want people to take that the wrong way, but I would just say keep some things in house, But they're saying a lot of good things about Steph here. It seems like Steph is a really good person, and I think that I think it shows. I think it shows. I do think he's generous. I think that he cares about people. He's got a Christian background, so I think he was raised right. I don't know what happened with his parents, but I was shocked by that, to be honest. I think a lot of us are and still are. So, but yeah, we'll leave it at that. And I think his being a good person actually adds to making him a great basketball player, in my opinion. In his case, I think it does. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think this doesn't matter? Do you think, why is he talking about this? I just think sometimes we got to put out some positive messages, right? And it's not wrong to be a good person that people recognize as a good person. You can still be competitive, and I think, that's important balance. So, like I said, what do you think? Do you think that matters? Do you think it translates to the court at all? Do you think being a good person doesn't matter? Let me know in the comment section. Moving right along here, we're going to take a spin over to football. Are you ready for some football? Jalen Hurts, my favorite person to talk about in football on here. And why is that? Because I think Jalen Hurts takes a lot of crap for no reason. But we recently just saw, if you were paying attention this past weekend, my boy went nuts. Went nuts out there. Got A.J. Brown, the beast. The ball. A.J. Brown's an absolute beast, by the way. I mean, if you don't recognize that he's a beast, then I don't know what you're doing out here. The man's a beast. He's on another level. And what I think is appropriate about him is that I really like how, he kept his head on. They always tell you if you're ready, you don't have to get ready. And I think that's what A.J. Brown did. So he came out, had a monster game, really put the team on his back. Jalen Hurts closed it out with the touchdown pass to Smitty. But I came across this guy when I was looking on IG, and he was talking about the difference between Jalen Hurts and Burrows and how we make excuses for Joe Burrows, but we don't make those same excuses for Jalen Hurts. And I agree with that. I agree with that. I think we don't hold Burrows to the same standard. So I'm going to let this brother tell you. And I don't remember what his name is, but I thought he had some good stuff to say, so check it out.
Jalen Hurts in 2023 with the 30th ranked defense. That was worse than Joe Burrow's defense last year. He was 11-6, 4,400 total yards, 38 touchdowns, 15 picks, turnover-worthy plays, 2.3%, 3 fourth-quarter comebacks, 4 game-winning drives, and an 86 Pro Football Focus grade. He put the team on his back. Like, my thing is we will sit here and we will criticize. Like, it's like Jalen Hurts had the 30th ranked defense. He gets to the playoffs, loses to Tampa, and they're like, yo, you suck, dog. You couldn't beat Tampa in that first playoff game. Joe Burrow has the 28th ranked defense, misses the playoffs, and it's like, yo, his defense was just that bad, bro. I don't really know what to tell you. Like, it was the defense's problem. And I can't wrap my, I'm not even kidding. It makes me fume.
Yo, so, I mean, that's exactly what I be saying and how heated sometimes I get when I'm talking about Jalen Hurts. And I know I've done a lot of videos so far on Jalen Hurts. I'm an Eagles fan. That's my favorite quarterback. I think he's the second best quarterback in football. If he wins this year, maybe he'll be the best. But I still think you have to give that to Patrick Mahomes till he's unseated or until his team absolutely sucks, which I don't think either of those two things has happened yet. And, you know, but Joe Burrows is somebody they compare to Jalen Hurts and talk about how great Joe Burrows is, and I call cap. I'm going to call cap every time on that. The reason I'm going to call cap is because, again, Joe Burrows had a better defense than Jalen Hurts had the year before we went to the Super Bowl, which was last year. The year before that, we had a big-time collapse. Nobody could figure out what was going on. We lost to Tampa in the first round. And my whole thing was that, you know, Jalen Hurts, all the game-winning drives, all the putting the team on his back, all the statistics, and still found a way to at least make the playoffs. Joe Burrows literally missed the playoffs, I think, the last 2 years. Now, 1 year was possibly because of injury, but I don't remember if that was that might have been towards the end of the season, but they were already kind of floundering, I guess. But the last year, I think it's just because they just missed it, and his team's defense was really bad. But Jalen Hurts had a worse defense. You know what I mean? So to sit up here and just Joe Burrows is just one person. But I do think Joe Burrows gets a lot of they give him a lot of slack out there because, yes, it looks pretty. He throws the numbers. He has his hair dyed blonde like Slim Shady. But at the end of the day, he's putting up numbers and losing. Putting up numbers and losing isn't doing anybody any good. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, he just wins. He won 17 of his last 17 games. He's 17-0 in his last 17 games. Right? The only game he lost, which makes him kind of 18-1, I guess, is because he got injured in the beginning of that game and didn't finish it. And we had 5 turnovers in that game, and we still almost won. But we lost because Jalen Hurts is a closer. So I'm just pointing this out because people like to make a lot of comparisons. But this last game that you just saw, A.J. Brown put the team on his back, made some big plays. Jalen Hurts made sure to give him the ball. And Jalen Hurts ended up having a better game than Matt Stafford, who I do believe Matt Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks in the league and one of the better quarterbacks I've seen in the last 15 years or so, in my opinion. Outside of the big wigs, you know, like obviously if we're talking about Brady and Manning and you know, Breeze and Rodgers, that's a whole nother level of player there. But still, Stafford is somewhere. He's among the most elite passers in today's game. Straight passer. You're talking about straight passer. He's good. He's nice. And he won a Super Bowl. You know, so when you put him on a good team, he's talented and he's gifted. But he ain't Jalen Hurts. And a lot of these people are not Jalen Hurts because all Jalen Hurts does is win. And whatever you need him to be, he'll be a chameleon and turn into that. There's an X-Men. I think the one, is this Darwin? Is that X-Men's name? You could Google it. One of the X-Men, his superpower is literally that he just adjusts to not die. So you can't really kill him because anything he needs to be in that moment, he'll become. If you try to drown him, he'll become a fish. Now, he doesn't turn into that, but he grows gills and stuff and he can breathe underwater. If you try to hit him with a gamma radiation bomb, somehow he becomes an underground bunker. That's a human being. Like, he just finds ways to adjust. If you try to cut his arm off, he becomes Wolverine-like and grows it back. He just has a crazy ability. And that's, to me, what Jalen Hurts is out there. So I thought I'd share this with you guys. That guy was preaching to the choir. That's exactly how I feel about it. And it is what it is. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think Jalen Hurts is a bum? Do you think Jalen Hurts is not elite? Do you think Jalen Hurts is only good because his team is good? Or do you believe that Jalen Hurts is that guy? He's him. He's Himothy Jr. He's a winner. He knows what to do when it matters the most, and he's like a chameleon that can adjust to what's needed. I personally think it's that. So, what say you? Hit the comment section up, and we'll go from there.
Greeny, was all set. A consensus had been reached. The Baltimore Ravens, were planning to select Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round with the 141st overall selection. But when he found out, he got word back to the Ravens that he preferred not to go to a place where he would be competing and backing up Lamar Jackson. He wanted to be in a place that he could play. And so when the Ravens got that message, they pivoted, went a different direction with the 141st overall selection. And 3 picks later, the Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders, who will be in Baltimore today, where he could have been spending his NFL career if he were willing to back up Lamar Jackson. Preferred not to do that, and so Shedeur Sanders will make that trip to Baltimore today. Could have been a Raven, but he's a Brown, 3rd string on the depth chart, Randy.
So Shedeur Sanders actually came out recently, and I don't know if he came out and said it or if it was Deion Sanders or whatever. Somebody said that Shedeur didn't. I think the Eagles called him at one point, and I think they reached out to him, but also the Ravens most specifically. And he said he told the Ravens they were going to draft him earlier, I guess, and he told the Ravens, "Don't draft me." And the reason is because he didn't want to play behind Lamar Jackson. Now, this is throwing a lot of people for a loop. Some people are with it, some people are not with it. And I hear both sides, but me personally, I think that I'm okay with it. And the reason that I'm okay with it is because why would you want to go somewhere and play behind a guy that you know, as long as he's healthy, will always have your starting job? Lamar Jackson is arguably the best player in football. Not even just the best quarterback. The best player in football. Arguably. Why would I want to play behind that guy? How often am I going to get to play? Especially at the quarterback position. So I'm not mad at that for Shedeur. There are some people, especially, I think some older football heads are a little bit upset. More so than the younger ones. And they're saying like, Aaron Rodgers played behind Brett Favre. Patrick Mahomes played behind Alex Smith. There's Jordan Love, who's starting now for Green Bay, played behind Aaron Rodgers. There's a list. Steve Young played behind Joe Montana. So there's a history of great quarterbacks playing behind great quarterbacks and then becoming great quarterbacks. And so there's a sect of those people that are like, why would he? This is him being a spoiled rich kid, Deion's son, wanting it his way like it's Burger King. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't think it's fair in this instance, because if you're really a competitor, you want to play. You want to play. And for me, I would want to play. So I wouldn't want to sit behind Lamar Jackson and some of those guys, because I know my playing time is going to be limited. And if I have a level of control over it, which he does because of his father, I would try to exercise it as well. I'm just being honest. There are times when I feel like Shedeur was doing too much. There's a million times where I feel like Deion Sanders is doing way too much. But in this instance, the competitor in me would probably want to do the same thing. That would be my first impulse. So I'm not mad at Shedeur Sanders for that. And I think that for this particular situation, he needs to be given some level of grace, because you want to play. And to me, going to a booty franchise like the Browns, who are garbage, who are glad bags, you have an opportunity to start at some point, because they will be buns. I can't believe they won last week and they beat Green Bay, who supposedly was supposed to be better than the Eagles, which it doesn't seem like they are. You lose to the Browns and only put up their final score was terrible. It was like 10-13 or something disgusting like that. So shame on the Packers. But I don't think Joe Flacco is playing particularly well. You got Gabriel in front of you. That's the only thing where I think it gets a little shaky for Shedeur, because you did avoid the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, but you still are behind Flacco and Gabriel. They're going to start Gabriel before they start you. So now that kind of puts you 2 back. Where at least if something where Lamar was maybe resting for whatever reason, hopefully not hurt, but if he's resting or something like that, maybe you could get behind him, And you actually could learn a lot from Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to lie. Lamar was just a runner. He's been one of the most accurate, best passers in the league. He has like 9 touchdowns. He might lead the league in touchdowns already, like passing touchdowns. You know, you definitely can learn a lot from him. So I think we should be careful with disrespecting that setup. And it's shown to be successful. You sit behind the GOAT quarterback on your team, and then you become the GOAT quarterback on your team eventually. You know, so there's something to be said from learning from a guy that is elite. I do think there's something to that. But yes, the competitor in me would want to go somewhere where I have more of a chance to prove myself. You know what I mean? So I understand Shedeur on this one. I'm not going to be one of those people that is upset with him. I see both sides of this, and I think he made the best choice for him in this case. Again, going back to one of my favorite Bible applications, all things are lawful, but not everything is advantageous. All right? And to me, this is one of those. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. All right? Actually, to be honest with you, that's not the best application of this scripture. I'm not going to use that one for this. What I'm going to say is sometimes when you're trying to figure out what decision you want to make and you're trying to line up your principles to see in your moral code, your standards, I think this is one of those ones where it's a gray area and there's literally no right or wrong answer. It just depends upon what is best for you and your family. So that's what I'm going to grant Shedeur in this one. And what say you? Do you think he made the right decision by going to the Browns? Faster track to start potentially? Or the wrong decision and he should have went to the Ravens and sat behind Lamar, learned, and became great that way? I don't know if there's a right answer to this, but it's an opinion thing and you decide. So hit up the comment section and let me know what you think. All right? Let me know what you think. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has started out this season a little rough. I think he's averaging about 64 yards per game in the first 3 games of the season. The Eagles are 3-0, so there's no reason to complain. You play to win the game, not to help people's gambling habits and parlays. And so he's being a good team player. He seems to be in high spirits on the sidelines and even in the game, hyping people up. But teams so far are crowding the box. They're just not going to let him beat you. And they're trying to put more of an emphasis on forcing Jalen Hurts to play, which backfired on the Rams last game because Jalen Hurts came out and put in a masterclass. A.J. Brown put the team literally on his strong shoulders and his back and led us to victory. However, as far as what we're seeing from Saquon, it's been a little bit of a struggle. But he's built for it tough, right? He's built for it tough. And the reason we know that is because he recently did an interview where he was talking about his relationship with Kobe Bryant. And it may not necessarily be a relationship where they're calling each other and talking to each other every day, but it's a relationship where he looked at what Kobe was and what Kobe stood for, and he put that in his own persona, and he used that to lead him to greatness, to become a Super Bowl champion, to rush for 2,000 yards last season. So let's listen to what he has to say, and we'll come back and talk about that afterwards.
I noticed that you wear a Kobe logo earring sometimes.
Yeah.
What is it about Mamba mentality that means so much to you?
Yeah, I've always been a Kobe Bryant fan, right? But when I went through my ACL, I kind of really tried to dive into the Mamba mentality. It's just a constant quest of being the best version of yourself. If you attack every day like that, and whether it's in football, whether it's in media, whether it's in business, you're gonna get the best version of yourself. I wouldn't be the player I am today without Kobe Bryant.
And so that's Saquon Barkley talking about the impact that Kobe Bryant had on his life. And if you watch him play, I mean, he plays with the same fire, the same fury, whatever it takes to win. Last year, he had one of the most crazy plays that you'll ever see in your life when he jumped backwards over an attacking defender. Just completely leapfrogged him, but backwards. I mean, Saquon was on another level last year, and I do believe he'll return to form this year. I just think we're going to have to throw the ball more, the Philadelphia Eagles, and be more balanced so that teams try to, lighten up in the box. They're putting a lot of people in the box. They want to make Jalen Hurts throw, which really should be fine because Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback. So I think he'll be fine ultimately, but it just goes to show you again that, Jalen Hurts also spoke about Kobe Bryant and the impact that he had on his life. And the Philadelphia Eagles in general, I think, have, they had Kobe Bryant come speak to them, I think, before they won the Super Bowl, and then also just all throughout their halls, they have little memoriams of Kobe Bryant throughout the practice facility and sayings that he said all throughout their facilities, because he's from Philly. You know, when Kobe came to America, he lived in Philly. And so, you know, a lot of people, at first they kind of booed him when it was him versus Allen Iverson, because everybody loved AI, and you understand that. But as of recently, you know, when the Mamba came for his time to end as far as being a player, especially, you know, everybody in the city embraced him and realized that that same grit that he had, that dedication, it started with its roots in Philly. And so everybody that is anybody that has any type of grit to them, they are Kobe people. You know what I mean? Saquon has his family. He loves his wife. I think he has 2 kids. And, you know, he rocks with his family. He speaks very highly of his wife. Jalen Hurts, same thing. Jalen doesn't have any kids yet, but he recently got married. And, you know, all of these things are part of the Mamba mentality, in my opinion. And it's not about me pushing my morality or my standards on you, but at the end of the day, the greatest players that I see in all sports tend to have a stable life at home. Not chasing groupies around, not having 87 kids by 87 different women. If that's your situation, that's your situation. I'm not here to judge you. Only God can do that. But to be an elite athlete on another level, to train harder and faster and stronger than everybody else, you got to have a free mind most of the time. SGA just was the champion in the NBA and the MVP. Got a family, has a son, you know, trains hard. That home life is a big thing, you know, in my opinion. And I'm going off a little bit on a tangent here, but I just wanted to point this out, that Saquon joins a long list of people that was inspired by Kobe Bryant, that continues to carry that mantle, and the quest for greatness is number one. He had a chance to have the all-time record in yards last year, and he just sat for a game to focus on what was more important coming in the playoffs. And that championship that we ultimately won as a Philadelphia Eagles fan that I am. And you got to give him some credit for that, man. He put the team above himself. Jalen Hurts continues to put the team above himself. A.J. Brown, the Eagles have not been passing like that. The first 2 weeks, the passing numbers were abysmal, but they won. And A.J. Brown and Devontae have not said anything outside of, you know, we want to support the team and we just want to help the team win. And when you do that, it's a different situation. With that said, what do you think? Do you think that the Mamba mentality is something that truly, you know, something that breeds great players? It seems like that's the case. It seems like when people decide to take that challenge, to bear that burden, to be that fixated on greatness, greatness is only a matter of time. You know, that's what we're seeing from a lot of these people. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys, Mamba mentality. We're always going to talk about Mamba mentality on this channel because it's the will to fight, to improve, to become better, to not give up, to not quit. Where there's a will, there's a way. So I appreciate you guys for listening this long. This was a new format that I'm doing. You'll see this in shorts as well, though. So you'll see shorter versions of this, broken down of this. This is the long form version of the show. But you'll, well, depending upon how you're listening to this, you'll see it that way. But we're going to start, I'm going to change things up a little bit on the channel. I will eventually begin to show my face, but I have to set up everything so that looks good. And look forward to some of the changes. It's been a little bit of time. Hopefully everybody will tune back in. I took off for about a week and a half, 2 weeks almost, and just rethinking how I was going to do the channel and everything like that, and I have some new ideas. So, you know, stick with us, and hopefully we'll continue to grow and continue to have some great fun together. Appreciate your time very much. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our glorious content. Hang on towards the end so you can catch some of our excellent videos that we will suggest that we know you will love. And make sure you comment because, again, ball is life, whether that's football, basketball, it could even be baseball. Who cares? Soccer. You know, let's just talk sports. Keep it classy, keep it funky, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate you. Very humble. Much love.
feel that somehow you never get over me.